Mark from the States, Mark from the States, it's Mark from the United States.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Mark from the States. How are we doing today? I am doing fantastic. I hope you are as well. Thank you so much for coming to hang out. Maybe we're going to learn something today. You know I will. Hopefully you do too. I've got a big fake couch here. We have a new channel. Dun, 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 dun. New channel. Yes, the channel is called Through Lucy's Lens. It is come requested. I have contacted Lucy, wonderful, wonderful lady, and I am excited to share this with all of you. Hopefully we can do the thing, right? And what's the thing, you ask? Subscribe, like, support Lucy and her channel. It is important. Please, please, please get over there. There's 2 links below, one to her channel and one to this video. I encourage you to get over there if you have 1 like and 1 subscription to give today. Not here. Go over to her channel and give it to her. I'm excited. I love when people subscribe to the content creators that we learn from. It is probably the best form of payment. As you know, we're not here to make money, we're here to learn. So please support the original content creator. And how do you do that? Just by going over there and watching and liking and commenting on their videos. It is important. So please go do that. I got a big fake couch here. Yes, it's big, it's fake, and it can hold every single one of you. Thank you for that. And yeah, this is going to be fun. This is Blists Hill, Victorian Village. We've done a living museum before, and they're fascinating. I'm trying to think something comparable here where I live. Nothing around where I live I can think of, but I have been to Williamsburg, Virginia, and that is essentially, I believe, a living museum, I would say. I was really young. It's been a long time. I would love to go back, but that is Williamsburg, set during a Revolutionary War, the War of Independence, 1775, 1776, somewhere around there. I believe it was set back in that time, and I do remember putting on a wig. Like I said, I was really young, but I don't remember a whole bunch about it. But I think would be comparable to a living museum. And I do remember having fun, but I would love to go back now as an adult. I think I would have more of an appreciation for it. You know, I think I had to have been under 10 years old when I was there. So it was a long, long time ago. So I'm excited to watch this video. Hopefully you are as well. Yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Go support the original content creator, and let's see, stepping back in time to explore England in 1900. Bliss Hill, Victorian Village. Let's do it. Oh, I gotta get out. I gotta pause it. I gotta get out. Okay, yes, here we go. Let's do it. I love it.
Hello, welcome to Through Lucy's Lens, weekly videos where I go somewhere interesting and hopefully you will find it interesting too. I'm really excited. You can probably hear from my voice. I was just doing that introduction then and I was just so excited because I've wanted to come here since I was a little girl. And I saw it on Blue Peter, which for overseas viewers is a children's programme that kind of documents real things. And I'm here at Blists Hill Victorian Village near Telford, right by the amazing Iron Bridge. And I'm going to explore, and I'm so excited. Today we have the absolute joy of exploring Blists Hill Victorian Village. It's a living museum where we get to step back to 1900. Nestled in the Iron Bridge Gorge, this open-air museum transports you back to the late 19th and early 20th centuries. It offers visitors an experience of what life was like during the height of Britain's industrial age in a small mining village in industrial Shropshire. It represents the lives of normal people, the normal people who worked in the surrounding areas in mostly manual jobs. The site of Blists Hill itself was once an industrial hub, playing a key role in the local economy. The area was part of the Iron Bridge Gorge, widely regarded as the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution. The gorge became a global centre for innovation and ironworking, coal mining and brickmaking during the 18th and 19th centuries. At Blists Hill, you can still see the ghosts of the industry that once took place here. On the site where the Victorian village now stands was a site for iron making, mining and brick making. And on this misty day, it was a profound experience to stand back and imagine the noise, industry, smoke and graft that took place here. By the late 19th century, these industries began to decline as modern technologies replaced older methods of production and work. Many of the buildings and industrial sites in this region were abandoned. And here, many were demolished to make way for a new town, Telford,
The bridge
that's just miles away.
does not look safe.
The historical significance of the buildings here remained undeniable, and to preserve this heritage after years of hard work and determination by a group of local people, the Iron Bridge Gorge Museum Trust had successfully saved the industrial heritage of the Blists Hill site, and the museum opened officially to the public on the 1st of April 1973. Blists Hill
Wow.
was transformed into a Victorian village as part of the Iron Bridge Gorge Museums. The museum contains a mix of original buildings and others moved brick by brick from other locations in the area. In this week's video, we're going to explore my highlights of the museum, including the high street and the shops and some of the industrial spaces. In next week's video, I'll be showing you around my favourite houses here.
Before she continues, this is cool. I mean, you can go in, actually the bank is operational and exchange money. That is cool.
Who lives in a house like this episode. So be sure to subscribe and stay tuned if you want to see that too. The bank here is a lovely reproduction, and the social historians amongst you might argue that there wouldn't have been a bank in a town this size, and I agree.
Oh.
These banks worked in pounds, not pennies, but it's a really good way for children particularly to exchange their money and just get really immersed in the history of the time. After a trip to the bank, you can begin to explore the Victorian High Street. The High Street here was a real highlight of my visit to Blists Hill, and some of you might recognise it from filming that's taken place here, including Doctor Who, the Victorian Pharmacy, Blue Peter and the Antiques Roadshow. The High Street has been reconstructed to reflect the architectural styles and urban planning of a typical small Victorian town, featuring a variety of shops, businesses and public buildings. So let's start at the cobblers. Shoes are something we take for granted today, and I'm pretty sure many of you watching have more than one pair of shoes. In 1900 though, the majority of working class people in the United Kingdom owned just one pair of shoes for all purposes. Some owned none at all. Shoes, or more commonly clogs or hobnail boots, were often handed down from older siblings or parents and patched up multiple times by cobbler shops just like this to make them last. Many children were still going barefoot, especially in the summer, as parents often couldn't afford shoes for all their children. And there are records of the children in the brick factory here at Blists Hill working barefoot. Cobbler shops like this played an important role in working class communities, mending shoes to extend their life. Maybe if you find yourself with a blister in your badly fitted hobnail boots, you might head to the pharmacy or chemist. And let me tell you, this is one of the best living history exhibits I have ever visited. I honestly could have made an hour-long video just on this pharmacy. Maybe I'll do that one day. So in 1900,
Artificial
30% of the population in England was still living in brutal poverty. Life was hard, drugs and medicines were vital for keeping the population as well as they could be. Pharmacies like this were available for free advice, whereas doctors were not free. Most of the poor would never go to see a doctor unless they were in the most desperate of situations, and most people in 1900 got their drugs over the counter without a prescription in pharmacies like this. In pharmacies, the drugs available were unregulated and the price of the medication was kept down, with most of the pills and potions being made in-house by the pharmacist using cheap fillers and without the need for expensive packaging. A pharmacy like this not only stocked ready-made medicines, but also the raw ingredients for home remedies too. There was laudanum for dysentery, chlorodyne for coughs and colds, and a camphorated tincture of opium for asthma. Opium pills were freely available and coated in varnish for the working classes. Children would be offered bottles of Ayer's cherry pectoral for their ailments, a mixture of alcohol and opium that would now be deemed as a poison. Cocoa leaf, from which cocaine is now
Yeah, I mean, they don't call them chemists for nothing. It just blows you away how or what was used in these early type medicines. My goodness.
deemed as a poison. Cocoa leaf, from which cocaine is now obtained, was advertised as a nerve and muscle tonic to appease hunger and thirst and to relieve sickness. There was also a wide range of cure-all pills that would now seem to us as pure quackery, but maybe they gave someone in terrible pain hope and maybe created a placebo effect. In 1900, we were still 28 years away from antibiotics. A scratch from a rose thorn could become septic. Without effective antibiotics, septicemia could easily set in and result in death. So people turned to clever natural remedies such as honey, vinegars, essential oils and herbs to treat and stop the spread of infection. Speaking of infection, as someone who had the most terrible recurrent wisdom tooth infections, I shuddered to think about what might have happened to me during this period. And my fears were only deepened when out of the corner of my eye I spotted another service that was offered here in the pharmacy, the dentist.
Oh.
Since I was a little girl, I have hated the dentists. The chair, the drills, the scalpels, the pliers, the fear. A visit to the dentist in 1900 was usually for one reason and one reason only: to have a painful, bothersome or rotten tooth pulled without any kind of pain relief other than maybe a dab of clove oil or a swift dram of something strong to take the edge off. The dentist was also not necessarily qualified either. In July 1878, the Dentist Act was passed in an attempt to regulate who could call themselves a dentist. But for the average working person who could only spare a small amount to relieve them of their pain, their dentist might be a willing local person, possibly a barber, a blacksmith, and they would be greeting them here with a smile and a big pair of pliers. Next up is the Draper's shop. This shop originally stood in Oakengates, a town near Telford in Shropshire. In 1900, a draper's shop played a crucial role in the everyday lives of working class families, providing access to essential fabrics, clothing and household items that by 1900 were a bit more affordable due to the industrial production of cottons, calicos and linens. More affordable as they might have been, working class people would only have 1 or 2 full sets of clothing, one in which to work and another kept as Sunday best to attend church on a Sunday. These clothes could also be brought out on other high days and holidays. Clothing was seen as an investment. It was something purchased to be worn all the time, not just once or twice and thrown away. Often clothes would be worn until they were falling apart, repaired, passed down, or used for rags or repurposed. That's why, as a historian, it's really hard to find examples of contemporary working class clothing. They just didn't survive. For working class families, buying ready-made clothing was often too expensive, so they relied on drapers for affordable fabrics to make their own. The shop sold a range of materials from sturdy cottons and wools for everyday wear to cheaper remnants or offcuts for those on a tight budget. Draper shops like this also supplied necessary household textiles such as bedding, curtains, towels and tablecloths. These were vital for maintaining a functional home. People were proud and they liked to keep the best house they could in whatever their circumstances were. Draper shops were small local businesses and served as an informal community meeting point. The draper also acted as a trusted advisor, helping customers choose the best materials they could afford for their needs. I loved to see this colourful set of Victorian pantomime outfits on display outside the draper's shop. We may think of the Victorians as drab or dour, but they absolutely loved bright, vivid colours that came with new industrial dyeing techniques. A reminder not to think in black and white when we think about our ancestors.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I mean, not to harp on the dentist, awful. It must have been an awful experience. But something I don't think about is the drapery shops and places to get clothes. Yeah, I understood that a lot of it is hand-me-down and you have to make everything last, so you use it for many things. But linens and stuff for like clothes, I don't, for whatever reason, it doesn't really come to my mind too much that you make clothes out of other things that were once a tablecloth or vice versa, or drapes, that sort of thing. It's like, oh yeah, I guess they do that. It's just, yeah, I find it interesting for sure. This place is pretty impressive for sure. And I could see if this is something you like to do, which I would love to do this, is just, I mean, what an amazing day. Yeah, I would never think about the colors. I would always think.
Next we have the butcher's shop. This shop once stood in Waterloo Street, Iron Bridge, where the iron rails inside and out would have been filled with joints of meat as well as game and poultry. Meat was relatively expensive, though you could buy a sheep's head, offal and cuts popular with the working classes such as cheek, shin and neck at a more affordable price. Rabbit was also a popular choice, being hunted locally and plentiful. Chicken, although we see it as plentiful and cheap protein today, was expensive and usually only enjoyed by those who could rear their own birds in their back garden. Goose or duck was more popular, but out of the price range for most. The butcher would have also produced bacon, sausages and black pudding. Bacon was particularly popular as you could cook it quickly over a single heat source. The same goes for stews, where a small amount of meat could go a long way and could be bulked out with vegetables and topped up throughout the week to be eaten with a big chunk of white bread. Many people just didn't have extensive or elaborate cooking utensils. So what you could buy from the butcher's shop would depend not only just on the price, but if you had the ability to actually cook it. The logical next step after the butchers is, of course, the bakers. Sadly, on the day I visited, there was nothing available, but usually they sell traditional baked goods here. By 1900, industrial baking was on the rise, and large factories began producing mass quantities of bread. However, local bakeries like this remained essential in small towns and villages. Many working class homes in 1900 just didn't have ovens or facilities for baking bread. Instead, families relied on the local bakery for their daily loaf. Many local bakeries offered simple, affordable bread options such as white loaves, wholemeal bread, and cheaper options like brown bread. They sometimes also sold yesterday's bread at a discounted price, allowing struggling families to stretch their budgets further. While bread was the main product here, bakeries also sold other baked goods like pies, cakes, pastries, buns and biscuits, although these were often luxuries not affordable regularly. So we've been to the butcher, we've been to the baker, so now it's only right we visit the candlestick maker. The tallow candle manufacturer here at Bliss Hill is a recreation of a building from Madeley near Telford. In 1900, candles were still the primary source of light for people, especially in rural areas or less affluent homes. Even in homes with gas lamps or early electricity, candles were used as a backup during power outages or for lighting smaller spaces. In 1900, the local miners here used small, portable candles before the more widespread use of safer, more expensive mining lamps. Here at the factory, they made two colours of candle, white and green. The green candles were for the miners. And if a green candle was found in someone's home, they were clearly guilty of stealing it. This just shows how important candles were.
Yes.
The candles here would have been made with tallow, and let me tell you, it would have stank to high heaven. Tallow is the rendered fat of cattle and sheep, although other animal fats can be used, such as horses and goats. Pig fat, interestingly, is often too greasy and burns too black to make candles. The smell of a tallow candle is described as strong, unpleasant, meaty or greasy, and the smell got into your clothes and hair. It was, however, the cheapest option and the most popular option for working people. Paraffin or beeswax candles were available to those who could afford them, but for many families, even tallow candles were a luxury. A family might only use one single candle per day to light their main space. For those who couldn't even afford a candle, a reed could be used to create a rushlight. Rushlights were the cheapest form of lighting. Each was made by repeatedly dipping the pith from inside a rush into a melted animal fat mix. This slowly built up the layers of wax until you had something like a thin candle. The light output was little better than a match, and it was also smelly. The fat spat and dripped and the flame danced.
Yeah.
To create more light, the rushlight could be lit at both ends, and this is where the saying burning the candle at both ends came from, to describe someone living their life too fast and burning out too quickly. Isn't it silly to say that going in a candle maker's workshop is a bucket list thing for you to do in your life? But it was for me. Ever since I saw that on Blue Peter about, at least 30 years ago, I've wanted to go there. And I have, and I've bought myself some candles. Yeah, let's move on. But yeah, I'm gushing a bit at the minute. That's how much this history stuff means to me. Not many people would say going to see a candle maker was on their bucket list, but here we are. And I'm so glad that you're here to share my ridiculous fascinations with me. Let's go and see what else there is to look at. Alright, after that excitement, I headed to the pub. Every village in a community like this would have had at least one pub.
The pub. Yes. You know I'm gonna love this. But I'm enjoying her passion for the history of it all. And yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, Lucy, I get it. I totally get it. I can't say that going to a candle maker would be on my bucket list, but the fact that you're so passionate about it, I love that. So it makes it infectious, and that was interesting. I had no idea how the candles were really made. So animal fat, just pleasant, and you don't think, oh my God, candles are going to stink. And it gets in your clothes and smell. And yeah, I think, we have tons of candles here, but they're all scented and smells like, lemon and whatnot. But to think back then, they had 2 types of candles. And they stunk. And just 1900 doesn't seem, well, I mean, it's 125 years ago. But it just doesn't seem too far back in time, I guess. I don't know. So wild. All right, let's get to the pub.
And this one was relocated from Warsaw in 1982.
1982.
This multi-room pub is a rare remaining example of what used to be a very common pub design in layout. Pub means public house, and this differentiated them from private dwellings that used to sell beer or ale too. Pubs are places to connect and socialise with others through the unifying force of a good drink. This hasn't changed over the years, even if the decor of pubs has. It was warm and very busy in here, and it actually gave me one of the best experiences I've ever had on my travels so far. I found the sing-song dedicated to the big horse very, very moving.
I would say such wonderful things to you. There would be such wonderful things to do if you were the only girl in the world and I was the only boy. All the nights that you came to change and it's off to see again. Shift the horse, shift the horse. Now, not better than Rufus here. Now, I think you'll all agree, ladies and gentlemen, you're many years.
Oh my God. I love it. Big horse. So
I wasn't sure a sing-song to a horse in a pub could be topped.
That's going to be tough, but I'm assuming, can you still buy a beer there? Is it open to, it looked like some people had some drinks. I didn't see if anybody was drinking any alcohol, but yeah, very cool. Different. So different.
But I continued on looking around.
It's wonderful.
Most living museums have a popular sweet shop and chip shop, and Blists Hill is no different. There's a traditional fish and chip shop to give the chips a try that are fried traditionally in beef dripping. Although I can't give an opinion as I wasn't in the mood to try any after all the rich Christmas food I'd been eating. Annie Pritchard's sweet shop sells a selection of traditional sweets such as kale, gobstoppers, pear drops, treacle toffees, all alongside original packaging of sweets from the time. I treated myself to 2 ounces of Teddy Gray's herbal tablets, still made in Dudley not far away, and they are my favourite sweet in the whole world. In 1900, the average person in England consumed £90 of sugar per year. This made Britain the country in Europe with the highest sugar intake. No jokes about our teeth, please. Boiled sweets in small quantities were affordable to the masses. Chocolate was still a luxury though, and in 1900 the boxes of posh chocolates produced by companies like Cadbury's, Spry's and Rowntree's cost as much as a working class family's weekly food budget. There's also a really lovely grocery shop. I would have loved to have gone in and had a really good look around, but unfortunately it was roped off. One of the problems with visiting off-season, unfortunately. Grocer shops like this, however, would have been the heart of the community, and unless you grew your own food, probably the only option in your local area to buy your food shopping. Each customer would have been served individually, with each item weighed out to their own specification. This was a great service for those on a low budget, being able to buy just what they needed instead of in bulk. Small grocer shops like this would also offer a tick service too. To buy something on the tick is a British idiom, to buy something with an agreement to pay for it later on credit.
Okay.
This was really useful if you're waiting for payday. The 1890s witnessed a bike boom in Britain.
So the grocer is kind of like the general store, where you can look like you can get, dishware, pots, pans, or a nice set of china or something similar. But also buy your cheeses, right? And other baking goods. This place seems to have everything. But it was interesting. I've noticed that a lot of these buildings, I guess, were moved there. I assume they were taken apart and then reconstructed on site, which is kind of cool, because then it's not just, obviously this wasn't an actual place back then, but other places brought together to make this place. So really, living museum for sure. It's fun. Looks fun.
The invention of the modern safety bicycle made cycling accessible to the masses. By 1900, bikes would be a familiar sight around town, used as delivery vehicles, modes of transport, and even just cycling for pleasure. For some women, cycling gave them a sense of freedom and liberation never seen before. A bike, of course, would have been an expensive item, but they were a really popular fad, and many strived for and saved hard to own their own bike or to purchase second or even third-hand vehicles. I really enjoyed seeing this workshop. It really showed the importance of the bicycle in the social history of leisure in the British working class. The school at Blists Hill was moved brick by brick to its present site from its original location in Sturchley near Telford.
Okay, there you go. Thank you, Lucy, for answering that. Brick by brick and then reassembled. That in its own right is a huge task. And to do that with many of these buildings is incredible. And also awesome. So cool.
Where it had been built in 1881. I was really moved to hear the story of Margaret McCallum, who was the headmistress here in 1900. Margaret was born in Northern Ireland. Her father was a shopkeeper who earned enough money to allow her to continue her education past the age of 10, which during the 1880s was the minimum school leaving age.
Jeez.
Margaret became a pupil teacher. This was a form of teacher apprentice. She did this at her local infant school and trained there throughout her early teen years. She then attended Teacher Training College in Dublin for further training, where she passed her exams with special distinction. In the 1890s, Margaret moved to England, where she taught first in Bedfordshire before moving to this school in February 1900. When Margaret started here, she had 93 pupils between the ages of 3 and 13. She only had the help of 2 pupil teachers, and she also had to train them. As a teacher myself, I can only imagine what a difficult job that must have been, and to use the current word, that is a lot of differentiation. In 1900, the Board of Education wanted children to remain in school until they were 14 years old, but many children left school at 12 or 13 years old. This was because local laws allowed children to leave school if they were going to work in manual labour, which of course there was a lot of locally.
My goodness.
Margaret was a really well-liked and respected teacher. However, her time at Sturchley was cut short when she died of meningitis at the age of 30.
Oh, man.
I'm sure any teachers watching this know the daily risk of going into school and coming home with all sorts of coughs and colds and viruses. But imagine going in on the daily basis knowing you could pick up something like meningitis or cholera that you just couldn't cure. You really were risking your life by going to work as a teacher. So thank you to those teachers.
I never even thought of that. Yeah, we always joke nowadays how schools are like petri dishes for all the germs. But back then, it's literally your life. Wow. Amazing on the story of Margaret, I'm sure. It's, many people are the same back then, but she's like the schooling, to continue schooling at 10 through 13. And I mean, otherwise you're working in the mill or the mines and other sort of labor. Oh my goodness. Yeah, that was kind of, another thing I never really even thought about. Teachers back in those days. Man.
Moving on to one of the most surprising elements of my visit was the sheer amount of incredible industrial history on display here. One thing I've always been really interested in is the social history of canals and canal boat dwellers. I'm hoping to bring you some videos about that in 2025. But here at Blists Hill, there's a beautifully preserved River Severn trow boat. This is the Spry. The River Severn is the longest river in Great Britain. At 220 miles long, it flows through Wales, Shropshire, Worcestershire and Gloucestershire and ends at the Severn Estuary, which empties into the Bristol Channel and then out into the Atlantic Ocean. It was an essential route for moving goods for import, export and sale. The Spry is the only surviving example left of a River Severn barge. It was built by William Hurd of Chepstow in 1894 to trade in the Bristol Channel, and it used to take limestone from riverside quarries near Chepstow down to Cardiff. She's a magnificent vessel with a rich history that again could be a whole video. It was a really unexpected and lovely thing to find here at Blists Hill.
Very unexpected, for sure. Wow.
My knees have actually gone numb from the cold. What a surprise! I was not expecting to find a river barge like the Spry here. Around every corner there's something that's surprising me. And even though I waited so many years to come here, it doesn't feel annoying that even though I waited so many years to get here, I think it's worth it. It's fantastic. Oh, I'm gonna go warm up, get some lunch or find a coffee.
Looks cold.
One of the highlights for me was this wrought ironworks. I love a bit of industrial landscape. Once you visit the offices, I always really love the offices. I imagine the men getting signed up for work, their pay packets, and maybe even being sacked. And then I imagine the people in the offices doing the payroll and the noise and the buzz.
The sounds of the typewriters, yeah.
You can then move on to look at the ironworks itself. This is a typical 19th century ironworks demonstrating the varied processes of puddling, rolling and shingling that were used to convert pig iron from the blast furnace into wrought iron.
Amazing.
The building itself is an 1815 cast iron frame smithy building from the Woolwich dockyard, whilst the machinery and furnaces housed within the building are from Walmsley's works in Bolton. Wrought iron was a key material in the 19th century, and by 1850 some 3 million tonnes were being produced annually in Britain. Working here would have been hot, physically demanding, dirty and really dangerous. I always think seeing places like this is so valuable, particularly when you, maybe as a historian, spend a lot of time reading about them. To me, there's nothing better than actually seeing it right in front of you.
I'm always astonished on how someone comes up with these
There is a
machines.
wonderful print shop at Blists.
We'll get to the print shop, but they're just so large, of course, because that's just how they have to be. But it's just, here we are doing this by hand. Wouldn't it be great if we had a machine to do this for us? And then someone goes, yeah, if we do this, put this together and add oil and, use steam or whatever we're using. And it's just, it always amazes me that there is someone out there who comes up with the idea that how to build this machine to make people's lives easier or how to produce something faster. And then compare it to how it is now. So a machine like that, 3 times the size, much smaller, you can do the same thing and run the same type of product or whatever. And it's just, but it starts with these early engineers and early the people who come up with the ideas back then. Yeah, amazing.
Blists Hill. One of the things I loved about the museum was the wide array of lovely printed signs, tickets and posters in all the displays, and I was really excited to see that they were made at the museum using traditional printing techniques. The print shop is based on the frontage of a grocer's shop in St George's, Telford, and it was built from reclaimed bricks in 1973. The printing machinery inside was rescued from a print shop in Kington, Herefordshire. The role of the printer was pivotal, as it was the primary way to communicate information and distribute notices, news, art and literature. Print came in the form of the written word and also pictures, satire cartoons and illustrations that those with no reading capabilities could understand and enjoy. People who have tuned in before will know that I'm a bit of a stationery addict, so I was thrilled to spend some time in here. It's really popular, and even on this quiet day I waited outside for a good 30 minutes to have my chance to go inside, but it was really worth it. And again, I purchased things here. I told you this museum has special powers to make me put my hand in my pocket, and I think it's because I value and treasure handmade heritage things and could really see the value in the things that I purchased during this visit. These lovely cards will go on my desk to remind me how grateful I am to have this.
I'm sorry,
These
Lucy.
lovely cards
I'm reading
really see the value.
What you put here, the terms uppercase and lowercase originate from the layout of typecases used in letterpress printing. Like these, lowercase were stored lower and easier to reach. Never knew that. That's incredible. See? I'm sure. How many of you knew that? Come on. I always just, knew they're called uppercase and lowercase, and you just don't, at least me, I never even considered why. Amazing.
In the things that I purchased during this visit. These lovely cards will go on my desk to remind me how grateful I am to have this channel when things are feeling tough in the day job. It will also be a reminder another adventure is just around the corner. I have loved it here. Absolutely loved it. And something that's never happened before has happened. I've nearly run out of battery on my camera. I've got really good battery life on this camera and I've filmed so much and it's going to be such fun going through it all to edit. Oh, I've had a wonderful time. I really have. It's starting to get dark here in the UK. In December, we're on the 27th of December at the moment, it gets dark quickly and I want to show you Iron Bridge before it gets dark. It's about 1.7 miles away, so we're a race against time. It's just gone 3 o'clock, so I've got about 45 minutes of light left. So can we do it? Can we end this video with the Iron Bridge? Let's go find out.
And there it is.
Made it. So welcome to Iron Bridge. Some consider this the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution and one of the most historically significant locations in the world. It was designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1986. The story of Iron Bridge dates back to the late 18th century, when this once quiet rural area became a hub of innovation. The gorge's rich natural resources, coal, iron ore, clay and limestone, were perfect for industrial development. Combined with the River Severn, which provided vital transportation for goods, it became the ideal location for industry. At the heart of the gorge's transformation was Abraham Darby I. Remember him from your history books? He was a pioneering iron master who revolutionised iron production. In 1709, Darby developed a groundbreaking method to smelt iron using coke instead of charcoal. This innovation not only made iron production more efficient, but also significantly reduced costs, laying the foundation for the mass production of iron, a material critical to the Industrial Revolution. The Iron Bridge itself, completed in 1779, was designed by Thomas Farnell Pritchard and constructed by Abraham Darby III. The bridge symbolised the dawn of a new industrial age. 384 tonnes of iron would have been needed to build the bridge, which would have taken 3 months of continuous production in one of Darby's furnaces. Most of the bridge was cast at his Bedlam furnace. The final cost of building the bridge was £6,000. That would be in the region of about £1.5 million today, and it took 2 years to complete. It was the perfect advertisement for the wonder of iron as a material, and it attracted visitors from all over the world to marvel at this piece of progress, and the bridge gave the town that grew around it its name, Iron Bridge. So stupidly happy I made that. The drive here was so misty and I got lost, and I thought there's no way I'm going to make it before it gets dark, but here I am. For anybody who is a lover of social history and has studied the Industrial Revolution, Iron Bridge is kind of one of your pilgrimage spots, and I've not been for a long time, and it never ceases to blow my mind. So as I was so close, I wanted to bring you here too. Well, I'm going to wrap this video up for today. I'm exhausted but I'm so exhilarated. It's been so nice to be back out doing what I love doing the most, and I thank you so much for being here with me. Until next week, where are we going? If you like content like this, It's really hilly around here. If you like content like this, just a normal person doing something that she loves, give me a
Perfect.
subscribe. I really appreciate it. Until next week, see you later.
Thank you, Lucy. Very enjoyable. Wonderful, wonderful lady. Please go over there and support her and her endeavor and her channel. And just please, please. She makes it very infectious. She's just excited, and you can feel her passion for history, and it just, as a viewer, it's wonderful. So thank you for allowing us to learn from your stuff. And man, a lot I didn't really know about Iron Bridge. 1779. We were just talking about Williamsburg and how that was set in 17, probably around that time. So just incredible. Yeah, my country hadn't been around much at that time when this bridge was being built. Just, yeah, fascinating. These living museums look like a fun day. It maybe not the day that she was there. It looked very cold, but as a whole, it looked like a fun day, and they're just fascinating to see what it was like, right? And to have like the whole village there, and I mean, they're bringing in stuff from all over the country to, to display, and building these, these buildings brick by brick, taking them down and then reassembling them. Wow, that's a feat, and incredible. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did. I hope everybody's happy, healthy, and safe. Please go and support through Lucy's Lens. That's the channel name. The links are below. And hopefully you'll come back and hang out with me again. Awesome. And if you guys have any suggestions, send me an email. It's in the description. What can we learn from next? Hope most of you had a wonderful Father's Day. I had a great day myself yesterday. So happy belated Father's Day to all of you out there. And have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.
Mark from the States, Mark from the States, it's Mark.